I'm Vivek Yadav. Okay, let's learn about state management. Okay, uh, is there anyone new to mobile development or web development? You can raise your hand. I can see you. You all are new in development, is it? Okay, kind of. Okay, when you say new, okay, when I say new, I mean you have less than 1 year of experience. Who's that? Who got less than 1 year of experience? Okay, who got years of experience in between 1 to 4 and more than 4? So you're not new to development, right? Yeah, I think this talk will be easy for me and for you to understand. So yeah, let's talk about state as in. So in a mobile app, right? I think everybody have used Uber, right? How would you feel if you booked a cab and which says cab is on the way, and but for some reason the app got crashed or you closed the app, okay, for some reason, and when you opened your app again, there was no booking. Would you like that? Would you be happy to see that? No, right? So that's state, right? So basically, there was a state where your cab was booked in the app, but now it has been lost, right? So overall state management is basically to preserve that state, okay, restore it when it requires, okay, or change it whenever it's needed. So that is a state management in a nutshell. It is very simple. Looks like very simple in the start, but as soon as your applications, start getting very complex. For example, Uber app, right? So there are a lot of complex things happening behind the screens, and if they are not able to keep the state, right? So we as a user, we will be like, what a shitty app we are using. So yeah. So that is a state management in nutshell. So let's get started with this. The agenda is very simple. We'll first understand state management in little more details. Then we will see why do we need it. I think we right now we have little more context of why do we need it. Then block state management. We will see very small demo about block state management. Then you can go ahead and read the documentations. Documentation of block library is really great. So yeah. Then in the end Q&A, if you have any questions for me, we can take that. Yeah. So before we start, I want to say this, and I want to state this, or basically code this. So Flutter is best platform to build applications for iPhones and Android phones. Okay, that is the best technology you can find out in the market right now. From performance, from UI, from non-UI stuff, so everywhere, Flutter performs really well. Okay, yep. So this is me. I am Vivek Yadav. I work as enterprise solutions architect at Flutterflow. Do you know Flutterflow? Yeah, you can raise your hand so I can see. Oh, that's great. So Flutterflow is visual development tool which helps you to build your Flutter app visually. There are a lot of features like drag and drop, and you can customize your actions in the app itself. You can see how your application is connecting. So basically, there are a lot of features that helps you to build Flutter apps quickly and visually. And so yeah, that's Flutterflow. And before Flutterflow, I had worked with enterprises. I had worked with startups. So far till now, I have at least touched around 50 million of users. The application which I built has touched 50 million of users. So, and I was able to manage the state of the app, which was actually, used by 50 million users. So yeah, that's my job. Apart from that, I am Google developer expert for Flutter and Dart. So basically, I help out people, and Google helps me recognizing in that. So yeah, that's very simple. Nothing more than that. More than that, I'm also a community leader at Flutter Mumbai and India Flutter. So Flutter Mumbai is my local chapter here in Mumbai. Yeah, of course, I'm from Mumbai. If you don't know. And apart from that, I teach, I mentor, I train, and I try to contribute in Flutter in all possible way. When I say all possible way, basically I just try. I don't know how many ways are there, but I just try. So yeah, that's about me. You know. Let's talk about state management. Okay, so I need volunteer. I know it is really hard to do that via remotely, but I can try. So this might be a good experiment for me. So I want someone from you guys. Please stand up. Just voluntarily stand up and read this. I want a volunteer. Come on, don't be shy. I don't know your names. I cannot, point out. So I need your help. Just stand up. Yeah. So yeah, please clap for Derek. I think
Sorry,
we got.
Vivek. I think it might be easiest if we don't do that. If you just read it yourself, because the microphone situation here isn't that great.
No, that's fine. I don't want to hear this. This is for you. So I can just assume that, okay, yeah, you have read it. So I
Yes.
can just, yeah. Okay. So let's start. Who's going? So yeah, Derek, you can go first. Yeah, you can read the whole statement.
Sorry, Vivek. I'm not sure what you want us to do.
I just want you read the statement which is on screen.
Oh, okay. Well, we can read it ourselves, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, do you want me to read it through the microphone?
That's fine if you can do it. So it is for everyone.
State management allows developers to determine the state of the application to ensure the changes made appropriately reflect the real world context and business processes.
Yeah. So that is a state management, right? So as a developer, we should make sure that whatever changes we are doing in the app, that reflects real time and it reflects all the business processes. Well, we have one more. Can we have another volunteer to read this? Yeah, great.
Application state management across multiple related data flows that form a complete business transaction.
Yeah, exactly. So our application can have multiple inputs. The input can be either from API or from the OS or from the framework or from the user, right? So in a state management, we have to make sure that we store all these inputs and show it on the screen whenever it is needed. It can be in single screen or it can be in the form of data flow or it can be in multiple transactions. Yeah. Just one more. I think this is last one. We need another volunteer. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Cool. So the term state management relates to the administration of one or more component in a system or product. So what is mean by that? A state management is also uh, applies over a component or a group of component or a system of component we can say. So it a state management is not just limited to one widget or one component or one UI element. It applies to the overall app or it can apply to a page as well. Okay, so that was state management definition that you can find on Google. If you just Google what is state management, you will get these definitions. So what I'll do is I will simplify it in very simple way. That is, what is state management? It is basically maintaining different states of the app. Okay, I guess we already know what is state. A state can be a data, data related to basically state is data, right? So data related to user, data related to a process, data related to a UI element, or data related to anything in the application. So we have to maintain that. When I say maintain, that means we have to store it, we have to remove it whenever needed, we have to show it on the screen, and we have to pass it to different flows, different functionalities whenever it is needed. Then share application data across the app. Second thing is that, so one thing is that you store data, right? But another thing is you also share that data with other applications in the app. When I say other applications, basically other functionalities or other pages. For example, authentication data, right? Authentication data is collected at login page, but it is available to all the other pages in the app. Then another example of payment, right? When you initiate your payment, you basically create some order ID or some kind of ID, which is passed to next payment flow. It is not available to all the pages in the application, but it is available in that particular flow. Okay. So yeah, maintaining different states and also sharing this application data across the app. So that is a state management. So if you understand this part, then I think my job is done, at least for today. And yeah, so all this other stuff, whatever we'll see, ahead is just kind of obligation we are doing to it. So yeah, yeah. So so till now that was all the state management. Okay, and now we'll see some things around the state management. Do you know imperative approach by any chance? You can raise your hand. Okay, I'm not going to tell you to stand up and speak this time, but you can just raise your hand. Okay. So there are two approaches in programming. One is imperative and another is a declarative. Okay. So, and it is very simple. If you see imperative approach here, so if you look closely, there is a guy who is kind of, uh, giving work, or you can say is basically asking someone to do something, right? So the lady who is, I think, building Flutter app, okay, she's not building that by herself. She is getting the work or the actions by someone else, right? So that is imperative approach. When you ask someone else to do, someone to do the work, that is imperative, right? But what is declarative? Declarative is basically where you do the work by your own. Okay, for example, if I say, hey Derek, can you you know can you start the show, right? So Derek know what to do, how to do. I don't have to tell him that this is the way you have to do, right? So that is declarative approach. And our Flutter application is also declarative in a nature. So the UI which you see on the screen, right? The widgets know what they want to show. They do not get the functionalities from someone else. That we do not say a homepage to that, hey homepage, show this card. No, whenever you render homepage knows that I want to show card first, then carousel, then maybe some CTA buttons, right? So that's how Flutter functions. And if you look very closely in this image, okay, you can see your UI, right? It is nothing but a function, right? But function of what? Function of state, right? When as a state, that means your let's take an example of login page, right? So your login page can have logged in state, it can have logged out state, right? So login page will receive some data, and based on the data, it will give out the UI. That the UI, if it is logged out state, then it will show us or ask us the email ID or phone number. But if it is logged in state, it might ask us to go on home page, right? So based on different states, we show different data, different UI. And in a nutshell, that's what Flutter is. Okay. Is that clear? Do you have any question till now? Okay, that's nice. Also, if you have any question, no, nothing. Let's move ahead. So yeah, Flutter is declarative, that which means Flutter builds its user interface to reflect the current state of the app. Okay. What is the difference? So yeah, the first one which you see here, which is do change, right? So this is imperative approach. So I just said, hey, do the change. I just passed overall stuff that, okay, take this stuff and do the changes. So basically I'm just, telling him that do the change. But when you see the bottom code, right, it is on update. So it is reacting to state. There is no, definitive actions has been told to this particular function. It is just listening to a state and it is changing its color based on the data. Okay. So that's the difference between imperative and declarative approach, programming point of view. Okay. So let's talk about state management then. We know imperative, we know declarative, we have saw all the kind of definitions, all the wording things. Now, let's talk about how, where it is used. Okay, let's talk about business basically. So let's assume that we have features which is about us, order page, home page, and profile page. Okay, so let's assume that we have these 4 pages in our app. Okay, that means these pages can have their own data, right? About us will have data of its own. Order page will have data of its own. Similarly, homepage and profile. Also, they will have global data, right? So this is a part of application. So there will be some global data like analytics or user data or configuration data or theme data, right? I usually do another activity here, but it's remote. Let's skip that. But just assume that each page holds multiple types of data, or I can also say multiple scope of data. So as a state management, as a part of state management, you have to make sure that these data are available to a specific features whenever it is required, right? For example, order page. Order page requires authentication data. An order page should only open when you have authenticated user. You should not open order page when you don't have authentication information. Like similarly, home page, even profile page, right? If you don't have authentication user, you should not open the profile page. So here are two stuffs, right? You would say, Vivek, you were earlier saying about the data, but now we are also managing actions, right? If I should not open the profile page with the data, that means I am also managing actions. So your state management also includes a part of actions. Okay, it is not just the UI stuff; it is part of action as well. Okay, so based on the state managed data, you have to manage your actions and manage your UI. Okay, cool. Any question till now or anything that you want to ask? Okay, cool. So in Flutter or from Flutter point of view, we have few solutions. Few I have mentioned here, and there are some more which I have not mentioned. These are some which are being used by many people. Okay. The first one is set state. How many of you do not know set state? Okay, everybody knows set state. Okay. Okay, there's one more question. How many of you are very new to Flutter? Okay, okay, got it, got it. And I can tweak my talk a little bit. So set state is a function in Flutter, and whenever you call set state, it basically rebuilds your UI. Okay. So for example, let's say you have a container whose color is yellow. Okay, and you want to change its color. So what you will do is you will update the value of color, which is let's say yellow to red, and then you call set state. As soon as you call set state, it will update the state. Basically calls the build function again and your UI rebuilds again because you have a new data. So you see a new color. That's it. So we have set state, we have riverpod, we have flutter block, we have mobx, we have getx. There are a few more like provider, I think data something is there. There are a lot more solutions. Okay, these are some famous solutions you can see. Out of this, we are going to see Flutter block, but you're also very new to Flutter. I have few people very new to Flutter, so I'll just showcase set state as well. Okay. Okay. So yeah, uh, should I show set state first and then show you? Let's do one thing. Let's go and let's look at set state first, and then we will see Flutter block implementation. Okay. So this is uh, yeah, this is our app, simple app. This is IntelliJ, the simple Flutter app. The font, are they visible? Yes. Or should I increase it? That's good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll hide this. I'll hide block homepage as well. What I will do is I'll create a simple class. So I will have state. Okay. How many of you knows that there are two classes in Flutter? One is stateful and another is stateless. Everybody knows. Okay. So for the ones who are very new to Flutter, so Flutter provides you two widgets. Okay, basically everything is widget in Flutter. But if you want to create page or create something, which can have state or not, so you have two options. Basically, the useful options, which are stateful and stateless. The stateful widgets have functionality which is known as set state. But stateless does not have that functionality. Basically, stateless cannot have an action which is set state. So as the name suggests, stateless won't have any state, but stateful widgets will be very stateful, right? They can change their color, they can do animation, they can do a lot of stuff, okay, using set state. So let's see stateful. So I'll say simple widget example. Okay. So here you can see you have a stateful widget class also, and a stateful widget, whenever you create that, you also create a state class. So you can see your name in the class name, and you have exact class name here with state added at the end. So basically you have a stateful class, and then this bottom ones is the basic state of this class. Okay. If you create a stateless, okay, STL stateless, so you can see you got only one class here. So if I create, let's say, another example, right? So here you don't have a state, another class, right? Which was the state class. So this is a small difference between stateful and stateless. So what I'll do is, okay, let me use it. I will show you. Let's say this is card one. Okay. Yeah. And it takes color. You can say color. It returns container. Container takes color. Okay, we have already passed it. Height is 100 and width is 200. Okay, we have created it, but we will not use it as of now. What I will do is I'll say I want color dot color on panel field. This panel. Cool. So we have another class here. Let's forget for this for now. Let's focus on stateful class. Okay, this one. So here it is simple. We have a stateful widget and then we have a state class. I'll do here is I'll return scaffold. So for ones who are very new, scaffold is nothing but a page configuration or page container. So using scaffold, you can just create any page in Flutter. You know. So I got a scaffold, and if you know, a page contains a lot of things, right? It also contains app bar. So I can have app bar here. App bar can have title, and title is form of text, or it can be form of anything. But for now, I'll take text. So it's a simple example. Okay. And as all the pages, right, you will have app bar, then you will have a bottom navigation bar, and in between, everything else is the body of a page. So this is body. Let's say this body have a column, and this column can have multiple items in it. Okay. For now, I will just have container. Okay. And container is having color is red. Also, we have to pass some height and width. So height is 100, width is 200. Okay, then I'll change my home here. Okay. So this is how we create a simple Flutter app. So you have a void main, right? Void main is basically from where your application starts, right? It's common to every other language. And when it comes to Flutter, you have another special function, which is run app. So whenever you create run app, basically that is the point where you start your Flutter app. Okay. Before that, there is just a simple Dart language or Dart stuff which is going on. At this particular point, when you say run app, your Flutter starts executing. And if you want to run a Flutter app, you require an app which can be, a material app, or it can be a Cupertino app. You can also create your own customized app, but for now we'll go with the material app. And for a material app, what I have done here is basically I've created another stateless class, because stateless does not have any state, right? And at the app level, there is no state. But yeah, at the widget and pages level, there are states. It can get a little complicated, but just think about it that this app does not have any state for now, but the component of this application can have multiple states. Okay. So that's why a block app is stateless for now, and I'm returning material app from the build function. The build function is another very special function which is provided into almost all the widgets. The build function is responsible for showing the UI on the screen. Okay. So if you want to show something, just call build function or basically pass whatever you want in the build function. So I'm passing a material app. That means the run app will show an app, a material app. Okay. I'm also saying, hey, material app, you will have simple widget example as a home. That means whatever I'm passing from, this particular class will be shown first in this material app. Okay. For now, I'll just restart my app. So can you see as soon as I restarted my app, I got the new class. So we have an app bar. App bar says simple example, and we have a container. Container's color is red. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's have a fab here. So basically floating action button. Floating action button will have an action. Okay, on pressed. And it can also have icon. Icon that is child. So I can say icon. Icons dot refresh. Do we have refresh? Yes. What I will do is basically I will change color, but for that I should have color object, right? I will have a color object, color, or I can say color is equals to colors dot red. Okay, I can remove this and pass my color object. Okay, and what I'm going to do is whenever I click on this refresh button, I should change my color. So I'll say if my color is color dot red, colors dot red, I will make it yellow. Yep, else I will make it red. Okay. Yep. Ready. Let me refresh my screen. So I have two options. Either I can restart the overall app or I can just refresh the current screen. So I'll use this. Okay. So as you can see, there is a floating action button added here as soon as I refresh. But it won't have anything. I mean, if I click on this, it won't do anything. Unless there are, I have not written set state, but there is another reason because after adding this variable, right? I've not restarted the app. So if I have not restarted the app, the Flutter won't know if there is any new variable created out of the build function. Okay, so I'll just restart it. Okay, we will see same state. Okay, and if I click on this button again, nothing gonna happen. Okay, but ideally there should be something, right? I've changed my color. What I can do is I can also print the color that we know it is changing. Okay, and now we can do simple reloading. So I think it is already reloaded. Okay, if I click on this button, so we can see some primary color, but okay, this is red for now. So can we see that we are getting different? We are not getting different color. Yeah, we're getting different color. So this one is FF F4. This is FFFE. This is FFF4. Look closely, right? So basically, when I'm clicking it, I'm always getting different color. That means my code is working, right? The swapping part is working, but I'm not able to see anything on the screen because my build function was never called. My build function was never called again. So what I'll do here is I'll just add a function call which is set state. What is set state? Set state is very simple function. It will just recall this build function. So wherever it is called, so for example, in this page, right, we have simple example, widget example state. So if in this class, if I do a set state, this particular function will restart this build function. That's it. It won't do anything else, but that's the magic we want to see. What I will do is I'll again refresh it. Okay. We can see change in color, but if I click on this, you can see that it is changing. But just adding one statement, is it doing? No. After adding this statement, it is just restarting the build function. And when you say restarting the build function, that means build function will run again. It will take the current, the new state of color, the new value of color, and it will just reprint it. Very simple. Okay. So I can do it multiple times and it will change it colors every time. If I remove it, let's try and see. If I remove it and do a simple refresh, what if I click multiple times on it? So it won't happen, right? Because the build function is not getting called again. Okay. So is it clear the state, set state wala part? Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. So now we can jump on the block state management. Okay. So the first one is set state, which is common, which is the basis of everything. If you do not understand set state, all the else you won't be able to understand. So yeah. So let's see Flutter block. The Flutter block is very simple. Okay. Uh, it under the hood it is doing set state, but now Flutter block help us to scope out the set state. Okay. For example, here, whenever you do set state, I think it is very clear. Whenever you do set state, is basically rebuilds your build function. And when you rebuild the build function, you are basically right now reloading overall app. But do we need that? No, right? If I want to update just a card, it should update just a card. It shouldn't reload the overall app, right? So Flutter block helps you to do that. How it does? So there are two terminologies to it. If you can see closely, so we have events which are dispatching, and then we have states which are coming back. Okay. So when it's a presentational component, this is basically your UI, all your user interface. It dispatches events. So what is events? So events can be anything which is happening in the app. Either you can tap an event, tap a button, or you load something. Basically anything you can just refer to an action is your event. Okay. And what is state? State is basically a state of your widget or your component. When I say state, that means you can refer it to like a resting state of something. That is it, it is loaded or it is not loaded. It is in loading state, right? Basically, one resting state of any component can be referred as a state. And yeah, events are the actions. So, and here you can see business logic component, which is a block. So your block refers to business logic component. So what you do here is basically you show your UIs here based on the state. Okay. You fire events to your business logic component. Your business logic component can do stuff like do an API call or get a data from local storage, ask for permission, or basically do all the actions which you do in the app. Okay. So all those stuff will happen here at the business logic component. And once the business logic component processes whatever it wants to do, it will send you states. Okay. It can, for example, if you're loading a home page, right? So what you will say that, hey, load home page. So your event will be load home page. Load home page will come to business logic component, which is block. Block will do, let's say, API call to your backend. Your backend will give some data, and business logic component, the block will process that data, and it will decide if it wants to load a home page. So let's say that it want to load home page. So it will say home page loaded as a state, and it will ask UI to load the home page. Of course, you can pass data like the data for home page or data for a card. So that is how you can manage state in the block. So basically, anytime you want to do any change in the UI, you fire an event. So if you look closely, you get states whenever you fire an event. Without firing an event, you never get a state. Okay. The simple logic, fire an event and get states. You can also get multiple states into single event. For example, you can say process payment, right? So process payment can have multiple states. Process initiated, uh, payment is creating order, then payment is processing your card, your card is processed, your balance detected, and yeah, voila, your order has been created or initiated. Your order initiated basically. So your one event can have multiple states. Okay. So, and yeah. So your one event can have multiple states. And if you want to change the state of your app, you basically fire an event. You do not change your event directly. You fire event to block, block can do some processing, and then it will change the state of your app. Is it clear? Because this is the base of the block. Any questions for this? All good? Okay, cool. And also this particular piece, right, it is not very specific to Flutter. This is very common to all the programming languages who are working with front end. Okay, cool. So next is basically a simple implementation. We will see a simple Flutter block code. How do we write code and what is some terminologies? Where do we keep it and some best practices? Cool. So let's jump on the UI. Okay. So here, what you have to do is you have to first install dependencies in Flutter, right? So Flutter block is external package. You have to install Flutter block using Flutter block 816 or whatever you want to use, and then get started with it. As soon as you add, it will look something like this here. Okay, do pubget. After doing pubget, you should be able to see dependencies, this particular dependency in your pubsec.log. Once it is there, that means you are ready to do the stuff. Here, can you read this file name? Yes, all good. Okay, cool. So there are many ways to write code, but I have my own specific thing which I have developed over the year. Okay, and it is very similar that for all the block code, you keep those thing in a block folder, and then you divide that based on your feature. For example, I have a feature here. What I will do is I'll create a directory feature slash home. Okay, and I will have a home page here. Yeah. So if my feature is having home as a feature, then my block will have home block. So this way, at any point of time, I can easily navigate that this is my UI element and this is my block. Okay. So even though my project get complex, I can easily find out blocks for the UI and UIs for the blocks. Cool. So yeah, basic terminologies. If you're using block, you should always have three files. First, one file is for events. So your particular feature can have multiple events. Okay. So put all those events into one file. Okay. There are multiple ways again, but I go with this one. So what you can do is you can create an abstract class, which is home event as of now. Okay. And then I can have multiple types of this home event. One can be, load home page, then reload home page or refresh home page, or anything you can have. Okay. You can have basically get user info, right? So you can have any number of event as a home event here. So event is done. After that, we had states, right? So all the states of your home page should be in one file. So I'll again start with an abstract class, which is home state, and I can have multiple states of home state, which is loading state or loaded state. Okay. Let's just say that whenever you say loaded state, you also pass me some information. So let's say this information will be order ID. I don't know. Let's say order ID. Okay. It's not order ID. So what it means, that means you can also pass data in the states. So if you use classes, right, you get this power. You also pass data whenever you pass state so that your UI can utilize the state. Similarly, in the events as well, you're passing this event as a class, right? That means your event can also have data. For example, get user information, all right? It can have, let's say, what is the authorization ID? So let's say I have auth ID here, and using this auth ID, I will get my user info. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is how you create events and how you create states. Okay. You might have a question. If not, I'll just explain. So let's say that you have carousel card, carousel card. as a feature, then you should also have carousel card as a block in the home block. You can see this is how I'm able to create the hierarchy, and I'm able to just compare hierarchy with the block. So it is easy for me to navigate between the pages. So yeah, let's hide it for now. We don't want this. So now we have states and we have events. We should now see the block. Okay. So how do we create block? That is very simple. When you create your block, so let's say here we have class home block. You tells that it is a part of block or it extends the block and it is having a type of event as home event or and the type of state as home state. So the types which we have created here as an abstract class, okay, we are passing that over to block while creating the home block. Okay. So this way, home block binds to home event and home state. Okay. Then this is your constructor. It is very simple. You create home block, and inside your constructor, you always pass one initial state. Why initial state? Because before doing any action, you start showing your UI, right? So this initial state is for your UI. So let's understand what it should do when as soon as it is loaded. Okay. Then you can create multiple functionalities for all your events. So you can see on load homepage, that was one event, right? I can also create another event for that reload homepage, reload homepage, right? For that, I can have another function on reload homepage, event, image. What is the event image? We'll see async. Okay, yeah, I can provide this here. What I'm saying here is that whenever this event happens, always call this function. Whenever this event happens, always call this function. Of course, you don't require to create a function. You can also have your things here. You can have your values here. You can do it from here as well. But if you create these functionalities, then it is very clean code, right? Now you understand what happens when you do what. Okay, so that was all about creating home block. Now let's understand what happens when you throw a event. Okay, so let's assume that your homepage calls load homepage, or it tells the home block that hey, load homepage, via event. Then this particular functionality will this function will get called. Okay, because you can see I'm not passing its implementation here, right? So its implementation is abstracted here. That means every event call is having two variable. One is event and another is emit. Event is a variable which basically holds data for current event. So let's say load homepage. Okay, load homepage had a data. I don't know. Let's say int counter number. I don't know. Okay, let's say this was the data. Okay. Then load homepage. If I use event, so I can do event dot. I think I have to say event as load homepage dot counter number. Why is this? I can basically say this. Yeah. So I have never didn't pass its type. That was I was not able to access. But now it is having a type. So what I can say event dot, and I can access the data. So basically, whatever data you pass to this event, this load homepage, are accessed via event. Okay, and the emit will be used to emit multiple states, right? So whatever state you want to emit, you can use this variable here. So I can say emit, and loading state. And then I can do emit and loader state. What loader state I wanted? Some order ID. Okay, let's say some number. Let's say direct is my order ID. I don't know. Okay. So yeah. So in one event, you can do multiple. You can emit multiple states. Okay, but yeah, at a time you only get one event, and all your event data are accessed through the first variable, and second variable is used to handle the state. Okay. So if you look closely at this particular function, on load homepage, so you can see I emitted some state. After that, I'm doing something. Okay, I just have to simulate some. I'm doing some API call. I've delayed some functionalities here using feature. But just assume that you're doing an API call or you're talking to some external services or anything, right? So you can do those stuff here. And once you have data related to that functionality, you can emit a state again. And you can do it multiple times until you are sure that you don't have any other state to emit. Okay. Is it clear or is it complex? Okay, cool. I don't think so. It is very complex. It is just, the simple programming, right? It's just a way of writing code. So, yeah. Yep. So, okay, that was all about the block engine. Okay, block engine have the block engine and then events coming in and then states going out. So let's say that instead of using simple widget example, we will use block homepage now. Okay, so block homepage is simple implementation of block. You can see I have a block, home block as an object. Yes, you can also pass home block, in hierarchy. What you can do is you can wrap your material app with a block provider or wrap your first page with block provider. I usually go with, wrapping material app with block provider, but yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, we'll see that example as well. For now, let's say that we have created a home block as an instance here in block homepage. Okay. Then how I would, react whenever state will change, right? So for that, block provides us multiple options. We are going to see block builder. What block builder will say that, hey block builder, take this home block, and whenever you get any new state, let me know in builder. So in builder, you can see you have a context. Okay, a context is what you get in the build function, right? Similarly, you get context here as well, and then you get state. So yeah, and based on this state, you can do multiple stuff. So this is the current state information which you get from the block. And so if you see here, what I'm doing is I'm just comparing. If my state is loading state, then do this. If my state is something else, then do something else, right? So let me restart my app. As soon as I do restart, I think I have an error here. Yeah, so while loading homepage, we had to pass counter number, right? So let's say counter number is 100. Yep, we can see that I have my block app started. It is showing some loader. And after a few seconds, it is showing me some card, right? So it is very simple example of a block where you got some initial state that was loading state. I fired an event. So you can see I have fired this event. So I had featured or delayed for 2 seconds. And after that, I fired that load home page. If I don't fire load home page, what happens? Let's see. I'm restarting my app again. That means my initial state is loading and it will keep loading forever because there was no action, there was no event I have fired to the home block. And if I'm not firing any event, that means my state will never change. Okay. If I want to change my state, let's do one thing. Let's have floating action button here. Floating action button, floating action button. On press, what I'll do on press, I will just call this function. Okay. And here I'm not doing set state. So remember this. The set state is not being used in the block. Basically, we do not use set state in the block. Okay. I'll tell you where it is used. I'm not giving any child, so you can see an empty floating action button here. Okay. So if I click this floating action button, will it change the state? Let's see. So yes, so it is changing the state. So if I fire an event, then only state will be changed. Is it clear? Simple block. So yeah, this was simple block implementation, states, event, and block engine. When you say that you have multiple blocks, for example, I can also have authentication block, I can also have payment block. How do you share that data down the widget tree, right? So this is your widget tree, and this is your widget tree, say a simple widget tree. If you want to, pass your data down the widget tree, what you can do is you can wrap your widgets, basically the parent widget, wrap your parent widget with the data which you want to share. For example, let's say that I don't want to use the home block here, right? The material app will provide me that particular home block. So what I will do is I will wrap it with a builder, and this will be my home block provider. Okay, block provider will create, let's say, home block. Oops, okay, create gets a create function context and then this. So why is it giving me why it is constant? Yeah, constant I have to remove because I'm passing a value. Block provider gets a child, so this should be child. What is type of child? Type of child is a widget, simple widget. I don't want to give this, this, or this. Okay. If I do a refresh, there should be some changes here. I have to refresh this as well. So I'm not able to see the home block. Some strange thing, but yeah, let's access home block, from the context. So what I can say, block provider dot of context, and I think the type is here. Let's see if it works. Okay, I have to use same here as well. Okay, I click on this. Let's wait, see if there is some change. Yeah. So what I did here, I'm not sure why it is not showing us. Yeah, it is here. But yeah. So I'll start from here. So instead of creating block, the instance of block here in the home page, what I'm doing is I'm basically passing that particular instance from somewhere else. It can be your authentication block, or it can be anything that you want to share across the app or across the features. So what you do is you have an option of block provider. You use block provider to create or pass your instance here, and then to whatever class you want to share that instance, right? It should act as a child. So your child can access whatever was passed from the parent. Okay. So whenever you want to pass any data from parent, so you can use this thing. Also, what if you want to pass multiple blocks? So you can have multi-block provider. Okay. We have multi-block provider here. You can use that. Okay. But yeah, for now, I think we require block provider. So we have used block provider. We have created our instance, and we have said that this home block is accessible in the block homepage. In the block homepage, whenever I wanted to use home block, I just did a simple of context to access it from widgetry, and that's how I got it here, and then that's how I got it here as well. You can see I accessed the home block, and then I added an event to it. Let's do one more thing, just a last thing, just to see if our block is working fine. So whenever I say load home page, instead of passing direct, what I will do is I'll say load home page gets an order ID, which is nothing but the counter number which you are passing. Okay. So I'll say event dot counter number dot toString is my order ID. Let me restart it. And we'll go on the home page, which is the main dot dart here. And here, when we say my state is loaded, so this is my state, right? When I say state is loaded, I will have colors, but I will also have text. Okay. And this text will get data from the state, which is state dot order ID, right? Because my state is loaded state, so I can access order ID here. And I'll say I am sending order ID something like 5001. I'll reset the app. I will click on this thing. Okay. Then I should be able to get a yellow box with text 5001, which is here, right? So similarly, you can have similarly you can send multiple events, do some processing, and get multiple states. Okay, at the time you can only fire one event. Okay, so as soon as you fire another event, okay, the functionalities of that function will start sending you states. Okay, so it won't be like these two functions are sending states one by one. Okay, cool. Uh, any questions, any doubt, anything that you think is has a miss for me or any gap that you want to ask me? No, all good. If it's all good, that means either I have done my work uh, very in the right way, or you have gotten bored. I don't know, but I'm happy. So cool. So yeah, that was all block. Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of questions. So I have told you that we are not doing set state here, right? But set state is used by someone here. Any guesses? We have experienced dev as well here. Any guesses who is using set state here? I cannot hear you. So either you have to use my basically come near to the laptop. We are not using set state. We are using block management. But can you tell me one actor which is using set state? Okay, the answer is simple, but I'll give you one hint that nothing in the Flutter UI changes without calling set state. You can use n number of state management, but without state, it will never work. So in this particular scenario, when we're using block, who might be calling set state? Okay, so it's block which is calling set state. So this particular stuff, right? When we emit multiple states, that means we have created a stream of states. And here, when we say block builder, it is nothing but a stream builder inside it. So it gets stream multiple times, and whenever it gets streams, it takes this particular child and internally it do a simple set state. Okay, so set state is abstracted out by block, and now set state is very scoped. Okay, for example, if block builder is being used here, right? The app bar is not reloading. Earlier, when we are using set state in this example, the simple widget example, right? When we were doing set state here, it was basically reloading all the scaffold, right? But in case of block builder, it is not the case. We are not reloading the app bar. App bar states as it is there. Okay. So using block, we scope the changes. We scope, basically we improve the performance. We do not reload everything. We reload whatever is required for us. Okay. So yeah, that's why we use state management. Cool. So if you don't have anything else, we can just go ahead and have a Q&A. So if you have any question regarding state management, Flutter, Flutter Flow, anything we have talked in this session, which or anything which I have not talked in this session, yeah, you are open to ask any question to me. I think mic is not working, so you have to come closer to the laptop. No, I cannot actually hear you. I can just sense that you're saying, but you have to come closer to the laptop.
I think we'll probably wrap up because this is super awkward. Maybe just ask me a question really quickly. Okay, all right. But thank you very much for your time, Vivek. We appreciate it. I've actually found it really interesting, having developed a number of mobile apps, and yeah, we really appreciate that. There's all Vivek's contact details up there.
Yeah, sure.
Do
So
you have any
yeah,
parting
if you have
words?
any questions that you want to ask me now or tomorrow or day after tomorrow, whenever you want, right? So these are some links where you can connect me. Mostly I am on the LinkedIn, which is not shown here, but you can type Vivek Flutter in the Google and hopefully I would be there. I did little SEO for myself. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's me. So you can find out Vivek by 259259 and you will get me, or you can search for Vivek Flutter and I will be there everywhere on the Google. So